Hi, I'm Charles Kimball, Board President at Emerald Peoples Utility District, or EPUD.
And I'm Kyle Rodman, General Manager of EPUD. And we're here today with a special message to our customers and the citizens of Springfield. For more than 20 years, the City of Springfield's Utility Board, also known as SUB, has been attempting to illegally seize part of our service territory. We've been forced to litigate this all the way to the Oregon Supreme Court at great expense to our customers and to those of SUB. In 2005, the Supreme Court ruled that EPUD's service boundaries are fixed and not subject to takeover by another provider.
Once the Supreme Court ruled on this question, it was settled law. 17 years later, SUB has ignored the Supreme Court ruling and again filed a lawsuit attempting a hostile takeover of our service territory. Once again, we're forced to defend ourselves with legal expenses now in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. One can only imagine what SUB customers are being forced to pay. These are public funds that should instead be spent to provide better service to all of our ratepayers.
Last month, a district court judge once again ruled in our favor, finding that SUB has no right to steal our territory. This marks the third consecutive time that SUB has lost in court on this issue. Clearly, this question has been asked and answered. Any further litigation will only serve to waste even more public money. SUB now has a clear choice to make. They can either accept the court judgment and we can go back to working together to better serve our community, or they can continue litigation, which would set up a decade or more of court battles and untold amounts of public funds being wasted on both sides. We're coming out publicly like this to try and prevent this from happening.
In the early days of Oregon, cities were generally the first to receive electricity. Corporate utilities served areas that were profitable, while some cities started to form their own municipal utilities. Major portions of the state, however, were left in the dark until co-ops and people's utility districts began to form in the 20s and 30s. Time and again, PUDs have stepped up to provide power to unserved and underserved parts of the state. EPUD is no exception. We were formed by rural voters 40 years ago to replace a corporate utility providing substandard service. When I moved to Oregon in 1977, my family and I used to ride our bikes up to Mount Vernon Cemetery to enjoy the beautiful views out on forests, farms, and fields. When EPUD began operations in 1983, these areas became part of our service territory. In the 40 years since, we've invested heavily in new infrastructure to serve the growth there. Now SUB would like to say thanks a lot, we'll take it from here.
As the city of Springfield has expanded its boundaries, part of it now sits within EPUD's electric service territory. The areas mentioned by Charles that were previously underserved and frankly ignored by Springfield are all of a sudden attractive to its utility board because of the financial growth potential. We know through court documents exactly why SUB is doing this. In fact, they presented their reasoning to city officials in a non-public meeting before the litigation was filed. During this meeting, SUB admitted their utility is not growing and their costs are increasing. This situation is highlighted by the fact that SUB has raised their electric rates for 9 consecutive years. However, rather than getting their costs under control, SUB is instead trying to simply steal our customers to increase their own revenues. This is just wrong.
Our business model, and that of every PUD and co-op in the state, relies on serving a diverse customer base. This includes those who live close to town and those who live out in the boonies. If we allow cities to poach our lowest cost areas where we've already built the infrastructure to serve growth, the rates paid by all of our other customers will increase dramatically. Emerald is currently a thriving, financially sound public utility, the result of years of careful fiscal management. We've recently doubled our capital improvement programs to nearly $15 million a year in order to get ahead of wildfire danger and extreme weather events. This has led to a more efficient and resilient system, as well as advanced technology for our customers. And we've achieved this without a rate increase in almost 5 years. Our ratepayers are telling us that we're doing all the right things. We'd like to continue this work instead of spending resources fighting SUB's frivolous action.
We want everyone in this community to know what's going on with the money you pay to your utility provider. We encourage the citizens of Springfield to contact your elected SUB board members, as well as your mayor and city council, and ask them to stop this pointless litigation. The dollars they are wasting in the courtroom would be much better spent investing in safety and reliability projects for our communities. In our conversations with City of Springfield officials, they have repeatedly told us that they do not support this litigation. Last year, Sub went to city officials, including the mayor, city council president, and city manager, and explicitly asked for their blessing before moving forward with the court filing. City officials have since told us that they refused to provide any form of support, and in fact told Sub that this was a, quote, bad idea. Nonetheless, Sub moved forward on their own. And so we have this rather absurd situation in which the city's utility board apparently went to court against the wishes of its own city council. City officials have yet to confirm this publicly, but we urge them to speak out and make their position clear.
In public statements, Sub continues to say that they offered to buy the territory from us and that we are somehow unreasonable for turning them down. We need to be perfectly clear. There's nothing whatsoever reasonable about attempting a hostile takeover of another public utilities territory. No amount of pretending to be reasonable changes these basic facts. It's as if someone offered to buy a car that you spent 40 years fixing up, and when you refuse, they just come and try to steal it.
Please help us end this fight so we don't spend the next decade in court wasting more public money. We encourage everyone to contact Sub board members and tell them to stop this pointless litigation. You can also reach out to the Springfield mayor and city council and urge them to make their voice heard on this issue. We look forward to getting out of the courtroom and back to the good work that we do. Thank you.